Hey, welcome back. I'm John.
And I'm Zach.
And this is Whiskey Neck Pour. And today we are going to be doing a review on batch number 2 of Hidden Barn.
This might not go so well.
We'll find out. Don't care what we heard about batch 1. Because we've heard through the grapevine, batch 1 wasn't exactly stellar, but can batch 2 redeem itself?
We're going to find out. I don't know. My expectations are low, so we'll see.
You know, I'm on the opposite spectrum. I'm pulling for Hidden Barn. I kind of like what they're doing. Before we jump into this review, we do want to say a special shout out to Silbach for providing this bottle to us. What I really like about it, guys, instead of you taters hunting to get a store pick, you can just go right to their website. They've done all the hard work for you.
They do have some interesting picks, some things that they've kind of gotten sort of put together on their own. I'm not sure what their process is, but they do have some pretty interesting blends of different whiskeys. That I think one of them was actually supposed to replicate the Seelbach cocktail. So it's like a blend of whiskey that was aged in champagne barrels and something else. I don't know.
Fancy.
It looked pretty interesting. So
Check
them
them
out. Do you have any information on Hidden Barn?
So Hidden Barn, you guys are doing some interesting things here. You took a little bit of a gamble, but we're going to jump into that. But many of you guys already know, if you're watching this video, you already know why Hidden Barn is all of a sudden became a name in the bourbon community. And that's because Jackie Zykan essentially partnered up with these guys. She became a full partner, so I'm sure she bought her way in. But she is now a part of the team. So what essentially happened is we took a family-owned distillery that had been doing, bourbon legally, illegally, however you want to look at it for a while.
Back in the Prohibition days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you have a family. What's the family's name?
The Neeley Distillery.
So we got the Neeley Distillery essentially, been doing the bourbon forever. But now you have like a heavy hitter that actually joined the club. And what I think this makes interesting is this has potential to kind of take down some of the bigger guys. And I don't ever think it's actually going to take them down. But I think where the bourbon community is kind of headed is kind of like in these more independent, smaller guys. And the fact that she's there, plus you got people know what they're doing, this really has potential to kind of scale up into more of a all 50 state bourbon versus kind of a more local bourbon.
Yeah, so right now, these are small batches. I want to say batch 1 was like 700 bottles or something like that.
Super small.
Batch 2 might be a little bit more. Like John was saying, the batch 1 stuff really didn't get some good reviews, so we weren't able to get our hands on that one. Batch 2, the reviews are kind of hit and miss. Some people are feeling it, some people aren't. We're going to kind of make our own determination on that today, though. So let's go ahead and get a little listen to this cork pop. Not bad. It's a real cork. It's pretty tight. We'll get a neck pour going real quick here.
Like always, we always have to keep adding to our infinity barrel.
Good, healthy pour.
As far as the age statement goes, a little unclear about exactly what the age statement is, since it is technically non-age statement, but sounds like 4 to 5 years. But one thing cool that they're doing is their family owns a full copper distill. Mm-hmm. So this is purely made out of a copper distill. And another interesting thing is the yeast they're using. They actually, got it in Kentucky. So this is trying to be as pure form to Kentucky as they possibly can be. So I found that kind of interesting on the bottle.
Interesting. Okay, so we're gonna talk about this a little bit. I don't know what you're getting on the nose.
Corn.
Yeah, grain heavy. Like cereal notes.
A little bit. The one thing where I think Hidden Barn kind of took like a gamble is essentially they're not a new company, but what they're trying to produce is something a little newer. So instead of kind of like running to like MGP or some of these more established distillers and essentially buying a heavier age statement stuff, they are trying to release kind of stuff they are doing themselves, and they are taking 100% a gamble, kind of throwing it out there before it's like quote unquote properly aged. So they're taking a gamble, and I can appreciate that. Before I jump into them, I do want to place my official Glen cap on here. That way I can get a little bit more of the smell. I know your palate's a little more defined as mine, but I'm going to kind of lock in all those alcohol vapors and see if I can get a little better of a smell myself.
You know what I'm starting to get on this after it's kind of sat in this, you know, getting a little bit of that swirl action going on here.
Yeah.
This is going to sound weird, but it's like, oh gosh, blueberry cobbler. But it's like, it's not the blueberry cobbler that you would think. It's probably closer to like a really like crumb heavy like crust from a blueberry cobbler that's kind of been sitting for a little bit.
It's like my favorite part of the blueberry cobbler. Well, and I think that's like what's so cool about like Hidden Barn is these guys are essentially kind of at the floor level of like what they can do. And I think that now you have like Jackie in there as the master distiller / partner with the other master distiller they have in there. Like when they start getting some age behind this product, like this really could take off.
Yeah, so I don't, and admittedly so, don't know a ton about the Neeley family distillery. I do know that that's where all of this distillate is coming from. As far as Jackie Zykan's involvement in the process, she's really doing the blending, right? So she's pulling different barrels and trying to see if she can make some things work. So she's, you know, for her involvement, it's really kind of limited based on what is available. The other guys that are involved, I think, are probably more like, you know, PR sort of operations behind the scenes sort of guys. But Royce Neeley and Jackie Zykan are really the two that are in the process of sort of determining like what's going to get used in these batches and then how they're blending it and stuff like that.
I know people kind of hate on this a little bit, but the corn is so front heavy. It's really pleasant.
I think you were telling me earlier, batch one was 70% corn, 20% rye, 10% malted barley. Is that right? I'm assuming that's the same mash bill for this one. Again, don't quote me on that. I don't know for certain. What do you think?
I don't know how people hate on this. It lingers. And it does have like a little bit of a rye finish, but like I'm really enjoying that as a corn heavy whiskey. I'm enjoying it.
It's very unique.
Yeah. Like out of like all the barrel or the bottles we've kind of like popped and like tried over like the time we've been doing this is definitely different. I don't hate this. I don't think I'd want to drink this all night. But like this isn't hateful.
So I think what I'm gonna have to relate this to on the palate is like a stale blueberry Pop-Tart. It's got some interesting sweetness to it, but like there's just this sort of grain note on there that tastes young. Like it tastes really young, and it's not. It's just not hitting for me. I know this probably would have been about a month or so back. Jackie Zykan sort of did an Instagram live thing where she talked about Hidden Barn and the potential for there to be some limited releases coming up over the next little while here. So I think they may be looking at getting some like maybe interesting finish release things put out there, stuff like that. So I'm definitely excited to try some of that. This it's a lot of like interesting grain, cereal, like stale bread sort of notes for me, and then the finish is really, it's grassy, kind of just, it's interesting. I'm not feeling this one a whole lot.
You're not feeling it? I think I'm kind of enjoying it personally. Like I think for like being not a mainstream bourbon, they've done something pretty interesting here. Where I think the upside for this bottle would be, personally, is this is kind of like a bottle where if you're able to get batch 1, batch 2, batch 3, and kind of continue through its series, like at some point they're going to start getting a lot more attention, more in the mainstream of the bourbon community. And when we kind of go back to companies that kind of done something similar where they kind of started releasing these different batches and everything. Like the one thing that stays really consistent with this is the secondary pricing on stuff like this. And I think if you're already in a batch 1 and batch 2, like, is it worth cracking? No. Like, this is probably one of those bottles where you tuck it, you hold on to it because, like, you're hoping that Jackie Zykan is going to do something incredible here, and essentially, like, batch 6 or 7 is going to be so friggin' phenomenal that everybody and their mother's trying to buy it, kind of like what Midwest Dram did. I mean, that's just like it's ungodly what's happening in the bourbon community currently with them. So I kind of feel like if it's one of these things where if you're able to kind of get your hands on it, collect it, and I don't want to say hoard it because, like, it is what it is when I say that, but...
So this is more of like a collector's bottle just because it's tied to Jackie Zykan's new brand. I
do, because I think if, like, it wasn't for the fact it wasn't her being attached to Hidden Barn, this would be a bottle that, frankly, would just sit. Yeah. It's not something that, like, people would just be like, holy cow, I'm going to go drink this and open it up with my buddies and have a good night. Like, this is more the fact that she's tied to it.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. If you're a collector, if that's your thing, like, sure, go for it. I think for me, this is definitely not going to be a bottle that I would actively go out and look for or even pick up. Like, if I was walking through the store and I saw this there, it's probably going to stay there. I will say this, as far as, like, Jackie Zykan's involvement goes, she's really just doing the blending and stuff, right? So she is sort of working with the material that she has. I think probably what is happening is this is a very new, product and sort of brand. I think they're trying to kind of establish some footing. I do think moving forward, their products are just going to continue to get better and better and better and better, just because of her ability to blend. I mean, she has one of the most, like, experienced and well-trained palates, I think, in the country. So I'm definitely excited for what they're going to be putting out in the future, but this is just not hitting it for me.
Well, hey guys, if you made it this far, we really appreciate it. Drop a comment. Let us know if you had a chance to try batch 1, batch 2. Like, what were your thoughts on it? Does it compare to anything in your whiskey collection that you kind of think is comparable? And, like, give us your thoughts on what you think about it.
Yeah, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Come check us out on Instagram or Facebook. We're at Whiskey Neck Pour. I think we're probably going to be moving our content to every other week. So we're not going to see you guys next week, but the following week with our next video. But we are going to keep trying to get some different content and stuff out through our Facebook page and our Instagram. So definitely be sure to try to check us out over there.
Tater Nation out.